So the first step is just getting the diameter breast height. That will tell us how much chemical and plugs we will need. So we've got an 18.5 diameter breast height. So that means we'll do 9 plugs and 90 milliliters of chemical. So our next step will be setting the plugs around the ash tree. We're going to do a plug every about 2 inches of diameter breast height. I've just been doing this so much that I have a pretty good idea of how spaced that should be. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so our next step is setting the plugs. I've already set 1 plug. So you want to get about 5/8 to 2 inches into the xylem. The xylem tissue is all this white tissue that we kind of know as wood after the bark layer. Got the bark layer, the cambium. So once you get through the cambium, you get to that xylem tissue. And the xylem tissue is kind of porous. It acts like a straw structure where the straws are going all the way up in the tree. And send these plugs about 2 inches every diameter breast height. Spreads out the chemical to all of the straws. And so something that a lot of entry-level arborists get wrong is how deep to set the plug. So if you do not set the plug deep enough, you can get bark expansion, which does more harm to the tree than good. If you have bark expansion, the tree isn't even going to be uptaking the chemical. It's just going to be spreading localized. So basically bark expansion happens when the plug isn't deep enough in the xylem tissue. You inject the chemical at a high pressure, and the plug isn't deep enough where it's in between the cambium and the xylem bark. So basically you're separating the cambium layer from the xylem tissue. And you'll see the bark bulge out in that area. So you gotta make sure that your plugs, you see like a white line of xylem tissue, like a white circle. Once you see the white, you know you're into the xylem tissue. Oops, skipped one. Now you kind of want to avoid wounds. If you go below a wound, the chemical will not translocate up past that wound. So we're going to go just left of the wound. So that all of our chemical can translocate. I am using a brad point drill bit, which is what you're supposed to use when you're drilling in trees. And we're going to go with this wound right here, and spacing, we're going to go right above it. So when you're setting plugs, it's generally better, I've been told, to go deeper than not deep enough. You need room for your chemical to be in the tree. And right here is a good example of the xylem tissue, thin bark layer, looking for those low bark valleys. And so now we're moving on to injection. Alright, so now we're at the injecting the chemical stage of treating this tree. And so I saw a little tool. It's easy to forget which one you start with. And so we're going to put 10 milliliters per plug. This is set to 5 right now, 5 milliliters, so you give 2 shots of the chemical. This injection process is relatively straightforward. Unfortunately, the chemical to put in the tree is not inexpensive. This one bottle is $480. That's a pretty small bottle. And so this tree, I would say that was average of how quick it uptook chemical. Onto the second hole. Something our actual supplier for Highlands Ranch told us about was a lot of these ash trees that are getting treated are actually getting over-treated with chemical, which is a funny thing for a sales rep to tell us. Normally a sales rep would want to sell you more, but we're doing 10 milliliters per injection site is actually in the medium kind of range for injection, medium to low actually. So we are not overdosing these trees by doing this. This is what he said is 10 milliliters per injection site is perfect. He said it's something that everyone in the industry knows, but no one's talking about. So we want to help these trees not overdose them. And so all of these injection sites are going well. You know, if an injection site wasn't drilled well, is if the chemical is leaking out of the injection site, or as I talked about earlier, bark expansion. And sometimes injection site, if you drilled into a wounded area, for some reason it's harder for the actual chemical to get in. Sometimes the tree will take like 2 milliliters and that's it. But yeah, we are trying to get this chemical into the xylem tissue. The xylem tissue does more passive transport of chemical, or of nutrients and water, I should say, sorry. So it's as the tree transpirates, they call it the transpirational pull. As the tree is doing the transpirational pull, which is basically water evaporating off the leaves, that pull of the water evaporating pulls water from the root system up. So we are injecting at the base of the tree, and the tree will uptake the chemical all the way up to the top. The emerald ash borer, the way that they infect a tree basically is flying into the tree. An adult flies in the tree and sets larvae into the woody tissue of the tree, and it's around this time of year where the larvae will start becoming adults, and then they'll after they board around the tree, they will fly to their next victim of tree, and you'll see these D-shaped exit holes that are pretty distinct for emerald ash borer. Emerald ash borer has actually become so bad that You can't even buy trees at nurseries anymore. It's illegal. They believe that the bug came from Asia on wood ships that were transporting wood. And their trees over there are the ash trees over in Asia are adapted to this emerald ash borer, but the ash trees here do not have their own natural defense mechanisms. They first discovered in Michigan, and their goal to contain it was to cut down any ash tree within 2 miles of an infected ash tree. And obviously, since ash tree is spread to even Colorado from Michigan, they did not contain it. So it used to be a big deal trying to contain it, but now it is across the U.S. It's been detected. There's kind of a pretty big process to proving that your county has, or municipality has, emerald ash borer. So Lakewood, Littleton, Boulder, and some other local municipalities around the Denver metro have gone through this process and have proved that they indeed have emerald ash borer.